Danny Ross taking even more shots at Patrice, Bill Burr, and I think Bob Kelly. So first he just starts off with this joke. If only Patrice could pass a glucose test, you worship a guy who was murdered by apple juice. Taking shots at Patrice. But he goes a lot into detail. Oh, and I'm going to be making another video after this because Danny Ross sort of went in on Keith the Cop too. We'll keep it to the Patrice thing for this video. So he goes on. He goes, "You're right. I only raised $15,000 for his mom. What did you guys do?" Because people are starting to get on him. Why are you trashing Patrice? Did you not like Patrice? He's still mad about that fight they had at Opie and Anthony. Like seriously, that fight from, I think, wow, what, Patrice died in 2011. So the fight had to have happened in like what, '09? So 10 years later, he's still mad at dead Patrice for that fight just because he wouldn't look up the stupid thing. You should have looked up what Patrice wanted you to look up, goddammit. He's still mad about that. So, but now he's saying, I'm not attacking Patrice. I'm the only one who raised $15,000 for him. And then he goes, LOL, I am. Why don't you ask Georgia O'Neill, Bob Kelly, or Bill Burr? Go on. I even went out of pocket to get the posters made because they wouldn't. And then he goes on, what are you even talking about? You post garbage lies, and when I answer, you find a problem with that. Why does the truth bother you so much? Yes, I fronted millionaires $5,000 to produce the print. I'm so sorry, that's the truth, and that I told you. Now, GFY, go F yourself. Edit, how the F is it unrelated? Bill and Bob asked for my help with a gig poster for their dead friend and wouldn't spend the money. So I spent it. If anything, that's directly related. I hired the artist, print shop, handled all sales and return/damages, ran the merch booth at the gig, everything, because I stepped up. Patrice's mom got paid. Now come up with something else to shit on me for. Now, as much as we could trash Danny Ross, all of this probably is true. And if true, I mean, Bill Burr and Bob Kelly, you couldn't come up with the 5Gs. But also, I don't know how much they asked him to do this or he just took it upon himself to do it. How much he was involved and how much he involved himself. He was still working for Opie and Anthony at the time, and he was a producer, so he might have been actually involved. But if true, Jesus, Bob Kelly and old Billy Redhead couldn't friggin' step up with 5Gs. You had to let Danny do it, so I'll defend him on that. But just because Danny gave up some money, you don't get. He's still mad at Patrice, though. 10 years later, still mad. But he's mad at everyone. He's mad at the world. He's a very, very bitter dude. Alright, but they call out Danny, and they're like, alright, you spent 5Gs, but let's not act like you just spent 5Gs. Obviously, you were paid back. Like, he went and bought all that stuff, but obviously Bill Burr and Bob Kelly later paid him. So he answers that question with, of course I got my 5K back. Why would I just give away $5 grand? How much effing money do you think I made there? Jesus. So he kind of undercuts everything he just said because he made it out like Bill Burr and Bob Kelly wouldn't pay anything. I had to do it. Well, no, now it seems like they were like, oh, Danny, just go do that and whatever you spend, we'll pay you back. Like, so you didn't give anybody any money if you got it back, Danny. Then he goes, you guys use S from 10 years ago to mock and shame. If we can't talk about the past here, there's nothing to talk about. I wouldn't say I speak ill. He was killed by orange juice, though. Plus, I never seen a pimp in a long-term relationship and raising somebody's kid. Just because you fell for the character doesn't mean I speak ill. Dude wasn't the Mac player you all believe he was. Effing Patrice swooned over Jeff Guerin. Jeff Guerin. His BFF was Dante Nero. Maybe you should just take Patrice off whatever pedestal you've put him on. I will not stand for this. Like I said, first of all, how would Danny even know? Like, Danny didn't go to gigs with Patrice or anything like that. Danny wasn't in Brazil with them doing it, dude. Plus, I'm pretty sure Patrice probably saw prostitutes on just of his own accord. But Patrice would cheat and stuff. Now, I don't think Patrice portrayed himself as that big, like a pimp or anything. Patrice never said, "Oh, I'm a pimp." He always just said he had his chick, and he was very honest about it. By the way, this is all jealousy from Danny. And but by the way, I thought Danny said F the subreddit. Why does he keep going back to it? Because he's got nothing else to do. He's not doing anything in life. This is all he has to cling to. This is it. Just well, not anonymously, but just posting on Reddit all day. You know, this dude, about 6 months ago when I first moved into this new apartment, called me on the phone and said, "Look, Kyle, you can stop making videos about me. I'm trying to get a job at Costco, and every time they Google me, your videos keep popping up." Very bizarre, but this new angle of him now later attacking Patrice, I think it's extremely lame. But and like even the 5K thing, so he's like, I spent 5K, but I got my money back. Well, then you didn't spend 5K. I'm sure there was a budget thing, and you spent whatever to hire whoever, then you got compensated back for it. So when he does this, I'm trashing Patrice, but hey, I helped his mom. Did you really? Yeah, by the way, you kind of had to, because you were the Opie and Anthony show producer, and he was kind of a big part of that. So you kind of did something you had to do. Like, that was probably part of your job. All this, because Patrice was right. In that fight, and I keep referencing that fight because Danny's been mad at Patrice ever since that fight for like 10 years ago. If Opie was in that day and told Danny to do what Patrice did, Danny would have did it. And he caught an attitude with Patrice because he didn't see Patrice in a power position. And that was always the rap on Danny Ross. If you were ever in some capacity below him or he didn't have to listen to you, he was just a complete piece of crap to you and treated you like nothing and would just ignore you. And just that's why everyone there hated him. Now, and he was only protected through his friendship with Anthony Cumia, who, by the way, also ended up hating him. Because Danny Ross is a bitter dude. Like, Danny Ross is the type of dude, you can tell, he doesn't have one friend in real life. But he's got a bunch of enemies he used to be friends. He's one of those nut jobs who are like, now you're my enemy. Like, he doesn't have a buddy, a friend. That's why he's on Reddit all day. And then he'll be like, well, I was the Opie and Anthony show producer. It was my life. All right, but he's the type of person who goes on the Opie and Anthony subreddit and says, why are you guys talking about a 10-year-old radio show? Why are you here talking to us talking about it then? And by the way, this post is from an hour ago. This post isn't from last week or anything. No, that last post is 33 minutes ago. So he's actively, as you're listening to this video, still posting on Reddit and running his mouth. I could probably refresh this right now, and there'd probably be a new post. Let's see. And there is. Well, I just literally just refreshed this, and there's new posts. And it said, yes, I failed to see your point. It's the same two people over and over. So, I mean, and then this guy says, you are lying. The amount is overstated, and the time that went into getting the real amount was mostly work time, not free time. You also mostly did it for bragging rights. Everybody knows what kind of person you are. Some might even believe that you got yourself a little taste. Not me, though. This guy basically said exactly what I just said. The amount was over, and the time that went into it was mostly work time. Exactly. You were the Opie and Anthony show producer. You handling the Patrice thing was sort of part of your job. And then he goes, laugh out loud, I am. Why don't... Then he goes, I fail to see your point. And then this guy brings up a good point. Years later, weren't you trying to sell those posters for hundreds of dollars as merch for your crappy pancake podcast? Yes, he was, and that's when he put, yes, I failed to see your point. So even these guys said the same thing I did, but I literally hit refresh, and he's still posting as we speak. And I'm going to be making another video because he kind of dropped some more info on Keep the Cops Out. But let me know your thoughts in the comments of Danny Ross trashing Patrice, Bill Burr, and Bob Kelly.